Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Two Bros, One Beard. I'm John, here with my bro Michael. And
Oh
today
yeah.
we're going to try a different segment out here. Something we talk about often when we get introduced to a new band. And we both have kind of the similar feeling where we generally will be into it and then we're waiting for the singer. Because
Yep.
that's kind of the deal breaker, it seems to be most of the time.
That's right.
And it's totally a requirement for us to enjoy something all the way through is we have to like the vocalist.
Yep.
I talk to people sometimes that are like, oh, I love this band, I just don't like the singer, and I just
I
can't
know. It's
get
crazy.
getting through an album and just not enjoying the vocals.
I've
So
heard
anyway,
people. I've heard people say they're huge Dream Theater fans and they
right,
hate James Labrie. And I'm
that's
like,
probably the biggest offender for sure.
yeah.
So we're calling this segment "If It Wasn't for the Singer." And so we each have five
Yep.
picks here of bands that I think we would definitely love to explore further and dive into a bit more, but unfortunately, we just really can't get past the vocals. So,
Yeah. Well, I would say. I mean, we're not trying to disparage these singers because
right.
everyone on my list, like, they're talented singers.
Yes.
It's just if they had a little bit better vocalists,
Hmm.
then I would become a huge fan. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm kind of a fan of these bands, even
Yeah.
with the current singer. But man, a great singer would put this band way over the top. Make them one of my
Yeah.
favorite bands. Yeah.
I think what I'm saying is it's similar in that I don't even know if the band needs a better singer. It's just because of who they have, it's just not for me.
Okay.
Because I could
That's fair.
see
Yeah.
each of these guys on my list are very, very talented. So it's nothing to take away from the talent, and it's really more to do with just yeah, just don't enjoy it. So
Hmm.
that's all it is. Nobody here is a bad singer.
Yep.
But bro, I want to start with you. So
Okay.
what's your first pick?
My first pick is the band Virtual Symmetry. I just kind
Yeah,
of discovered them, I don't know, a few months ago.
yeah.
And I've listened to their current album, which is self-titled. I think it's their third record, and then their previous record, Exoverse, I think it's called. Trying
Hmm.
to bring up their information here, but man, talk about like great musicians. Like, I mean, up there. I mean, progressive metal band, very similar to a Dream Theater. These guys go like full board Dream Theater with, I mean, super technical playing. But
Yeah,
not only that, like their melodies are killer. Their keyboardist is so talented, and man, that I mean, he writes some of the best melodies I've heard in the genre. And I still really I like their new record, and I like Exoverse. Um, but yeah, this band would be one of my favorites if the singer was just a little either just different or better. The problem I think a little bit with this band is I think they're from Italy,
hmm,
and his accent is a little too thick, especially for the genre. Like, it almost works in like the power metal genre if the singer kind of has an accent,
you're
but
getting like
not.
that Fabio Leone kind of thing where it's just like
Yeah,
a little too hard.
a little too much. And then I think it would serve them if they had someone else write the lyrics,
Mm.
because sometimes I mean, there's guys from Europe who have better English skills than I do, and it's amazing. I'm amazed by that if it's not even their first language. But sometimes I'm reading the lyrics and I'm like, that doesn't even it's not even coherent, or it's just like I know what they're trying to say, but it doesn't make sense.
It works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make
Or
sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
their English isn't good enough, so it affects the lyrics overall, which makes it kind of cringy when I'm listening to it.
Mm.
And then like the melodies are strong with this band. I just yeah, just it's the lyrics and then just the sound of the vocalist I don't love. But I mean, they're still a great band. I think what's his name from Sea of Tranquility had their latest album as one of his favorites of 2022. They really are a great band. There's both epics on their last two records are. I mean, if you're a progressive metal fan, you got to check them out
Yeah.
because these guys are awesome. But
Yeah, don't take this as like don't listen to these bands,
yeah,
just
for sure.
for us personally. Maybe we'll come back to it someday because
Yeah,
there's some could be its own segment of bands whose singers I definitely didn't like, but then later was like, actually I love it.
yeah, it could
Circus
be.
Maximus being a good example.
And he's super talented. He's got a huge range. Sometimes he sounds a little bit like Michael Erickson,
Yeah.
Circus Maximus, who's
It's
my
like
one of my favorite singers. A little bit like Tommy Karavik from Camelot at times, but just not of their quality. Not quite.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had them on my list as well, so I'll skip past that.
Oh, cool.
I want to start with Lacuna Coil
Okay.
because I absolutely adore Christina Scabbio's voice. However, the other singer, Andre Farrell, I've never really been a fan of his voice, and to me that was always the downside of this group. Really great songs. I just thought, I don't know, it just wasn't. I mean, he's an okay singer, but just never really what I wanted to listen to.
Yeah.
And he's since recently evolved into incorporating a lot more kind of death metal, more extreme singing, and I think at times that's more fitting for these guys. And I'm willing to give the records, another listen. I'm certain
Yeah.
they're kind of one of those bands where I check out the record when it comes out, and I've kind of gravitate towards the songs where Christina is featured a little more heavily than he is.
Yeah.
But just overall, it's just a band that I haven't really been a huge fan or had any desire to, see live or anything like that.
Kind of wish they would just transition to one vocalist, or
No,
just get
it
someone
works.
better.
I don't know. Maybe it's just a style thing or it's just how he sings. I don't know. But yeah, just that was the first name that came to mind, the first example that came to mind, because it's just like that's what's always kind of kept me from really loving this band, I think, is his vocals. So
Okay.
that's the first pick. What do you got for your next one?
All right, my second one it's funny. I got bands from just the progressive metal genre because that's like
Sure.
it's my favorite genre, and it's because I always usually love the music to these types of bands. It's just like you need a little bit better vocalist. But I'm going with Terra Maze. They're not. I mean, they're not super progressive. They're more straightforward. It's almost like pop progressive metal, I guess I would call them.
Yeah.
Because they're not super heavy. They're a band where they had a great singer. They recently brought him back. So he's going to be, I guess, a co-lead singer. His name's Nathan Peachy, I believe. Actually a great singer. The album Her Halo is the one to check out for sure. I forgot what year it came out, but awesome record. And he's a terrific singer. Another guy reminds me of Tommy Karavik. Very, very poppy voice, but great range, great tone. And yeah, I really like him. I'm really glad he's back. But they released, I want to say like 4 or 5 albums in like the last 3 years or something.
Yeah. With Dean Wells, right?
With Dean Wells on vocals, and he's a great guitar player, great songwriter. I think they would be better served to have a co-lyricist as well. I love his melodies, but sometimes with their songs, like, man, they'll repeat the chorus like 50 times in a row on songs, it seems like. And it's just, maybe they could have a little bit better vocal arrangements as well. But yeah, I could never get into those records because I'm not a huge fan of Dean's voice. He's still obviously going to be a co-lead singer on the new album, but maybe as a co-lead, it could get by. I think they have a new album coming out soon. They're already going to release another single in a week or two.
So cool about that that EP they released recently.
That's right.
Right? Because you had Nathan come back on that for
a
few parts, and then they had another vocalist on there as well.
They had a female vocalist on there. It was a follow up to the story of Her Halo,
right? And
it was it's like a 30-minute epic or something like that.
Yeah, that song was great.
I remember listening to the first time, not knowing Nathan was back, and I was like, hey, sounds like their last vocalist, and yeah, he came back to sing on that. Then you had a female vocalist, so that worked, and that's a really good song. Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned Terra Maze. I'm not going to do any duplicates on here, but they were on my list as well. And
oh wow,
I know you'll disagree with this, but I had both Nathan Peachy and Dean Wells on it as reasons.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so next up for me is I know I already picked on this band when I did songs we love by bands we don't, but I'm gonna go with Halloween. I'm gonna go with Halloween for Kai Hansen, Michael Kiske, and Andy Darris. I don't like any of those singers.
Just can't find the right one.
No. Having said that, I feel like Keeper of the Seven Keys is a brilliant, or Keeper of the Seven Keys, yeah, the title track is a brilliant song all the way through. Michael's voice is perfect on that. Absolutely amazing. And there's definitely moments where I felt that Andy Darris fit perfectly into some of the songs that he recorded. I just a little sign, Perfect Gentleman. There's a few songs that are just coming to the top of my head with Andy on vocals, and there's moments where I think it fits, but just overall, I just don't care for the vocals in Halloween at all.
Yeah.
And I think musically, I find it pretty interesting. I mean, it's solid. I mean, they are they were basically the creators of power metal for all intents and
Yeah.
purposes. They are, they are the godfathers of it. And I think musically, I'd definitely be willing to go dive into their music a bit further. Imagine those early Halloween records, if you've ever checked them out, with like Hansi.
Oh, I know exactly.
Even Hansi, Battalions of Fear era Hansi would be just cool.
Yep.
So, anyway, Halloween is my next pick. What you got next, bro?
It's a good one. My next one, I'm gonna go with a band called DGM. They're
Oh, yeah.
another.
Good choice.
Yeah, progressive rock / metal.
Yeah.
They're more
From Italy, right?
From Italy. Yeah, they're on.
Are we picking? We're picking on Italy quite a bit.
I know. Maybe it's the accents, or I don't know what it is, but
We got
they have
seriously. We got Virtual Symmetry, Lacuna Coil, and now DGM. We're just
I didn't know.
like
Lacuna
going hard
Coil.
on Italy.
It's funny. Yeah, so I like this band. They're on Frontiers Records. So they kind of combine like an 80s, corporate rock sound with progressive metal. And so they write really catchy stuff, more straightforward rock songs. But then they have, terrific guitarist, Simone Mulleroni, I believe his name is. He's with Redemption now.
Mhm.
He did a project with Jeff Tate as well.
Oh yeah,
What it's called Oblivion. I believe they did 2 albums together.
Sweet Oblivion. Yeah.
Sweet Oblivion. Yeah. So amazing guitar player and just great musicians on this band. But I just don't love the vocalist. It's funny, if you want to hear how good this band can be, they have on their, let's see, which album was that? On their album Frame, there's a guest vocal spot by Russell Allen.
Oh right.
And obviously the album is just downhill from there because you got one of the best singers on the planet, and it just sounds killer.
Yeah.
And then on their album, I think it was Momentum, Momentum is the album that has Russell Allen. Their album in 2016 has The Passage, has a guest spot by Tom England. And I remember someone commenting like, you can't have Tom on your album because then the rest is just going to be just a big downer. And that's kind of how it is. Like it's especially on the song with Tom, because it fits Tom's voice perfectly. And it's almost as if they wrote it for him. He's obviously friends with Simone.
Yeah.
And man, it's killer. And the album's good. I think I interviewed Simone when the album came out, and I did posted that interview on a website. And he's a super nice guy, and obviously his biggest influence is Michael Romeo. So you got definitely a big Symphony X sound, but a little poppier, but the tone, as soon as you hear it, you're gonna think Symphony X. But man, the singer's not bad, but man, if you had a little bit better vocalist, this band would be something else. I didn't get into their latest album. It came out in 2020 called Tragic Separation. I think I listened to the singles and I just didn't love it. But yeah, they do have some great stuff.
Right on.
Let's hear your number. I guess we had 2 of the same one, so this might be your last one here.
Well, I have 5 unique ones. I just have
okay.
backups.
Gotcha.
Where are we at here? Because I just have so many listed. So I did Lacuna Coil, Halloween. Okay. I'm going to go with, just to mix things up a little bit outside of the kind of progressive genre.
Okay.
Go with At the Gates, because I don't know, someone tuning in may think this is heresy, but I just I like Thomas Lindberg's vocals in Doses, and I certainly love it on Slaughter of the Soul, which is like just their landmark release, but it wears on me after a while. And I know you're not a fan of extreme vocals, period, but for me, they have to be a certain way for me to really want to engage with it for too long. And he has
It's funny, out of curiosity, because I don't like that vocal style. It's like, how do you differentiate? Like, how does an extreme vocalist sound like bad? Is it?
Oh, it doesn't sound bad. That's the thing. He's a brilliant singer. It's just
Or why doesn't it resonate, I guess, with you?
It's his timbre. It's the way it's I don't know, everybody from kind of those founders of that melodic death metal genre, they
Mhm.
each one of them had a unique way of doing it.
Okay.
You know, whether we're talking about Michael Stane from Dark Tranquillity, or we're talking about Anders Frieden from In Flames, each of these guys, or Speed Strid, Bjorn Strid from Soilwork, all of these guys very unique. I think one of the things about it At the Gates is they do not incorporate clean singing whatsoever. I don't know if
Okay.
Thomas really does that at all. I don't even know if he does it in his free time. I don't know, but
It's just how he talks.
yeah, but he just has he had a very unique vocal sound, and it was almost like people call this style of singing screaming, just as a kind of like just to kind of like catch all for like all of it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it's not. It's different. But his really was this kind of like a real shouting kind of screaming thing. And man, it works when it works, and then other times for me it just doesn't. And so I just can't engage with all of their catalog. And for me, it's just been the reason why I wouldn't call myself a fan of At the Gates, but I
Okay.
totally respect them. I mean, they're giants, you know, in their field. But yeah, for me, it's just and then there's times where like he comes in as a guest. So for instance, he's on I think the second to last track on the Orphan Land album
Okay.
that we talked about when we did our top, you know, ranking, the Unsung Prophets record. And man, that's cool because he's playing a different character. And so when he's coming in with his kind of his thing and contrasting that, even with the extreme vocals of their vocalists, I mean, it's just Kobe. It's like that works, you know, because you're
Yeah.
getting this contrast.
Yeah.
But
There's a lot of singers who, like, if they were a guest vocalist, you'd be like, all right, that sounds cool,
mhm.
but not as you don't want a whole album of their voice, you know.
Yeah. So I'm pretty much I'm at where, you know, I want a whole album of Slaughter of the Soul, but I just don't really want anything else. Is pretty much where I'm at with that. So
Gotcha.
anyway, what you got next, bro?
Go with another band off of Frontiers. I guess they're classified as progressive metal. They're more straightforward metal to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with Lords of Black.
Oh,
Most people would probably think I'm crazy, but I'm just not a huge Ronnie Romero fan. I think he seems like a super nice guy, super
Yeah.
talented, and obviously he sounds a lot like Ronnie James Dio. There's no doubt about it. And he does. I mean, he really does Ronnie's stuff justice. You know, when he was in, or is he still touring with Rainbow? I don't know if he is or not, but
I
Rainbow's
think
still doing stuff.
Rainbow's touring. Yeah, I think he's still
Yeah.
the guy.
Yeah. So I mean, he's extremely talented, and I just there's too many singers that try to mimic Dio, and you know, over time I just kind of get tired of it. I mean, two of my favorite singers do sound a little bit like Dio, with, you know, Russell Allen and Jorn Land, but they really have their own voice. I feel like he's too much of a carbon copy.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like their. I think I listened to their latest album. I got really into it. I think it's Alchemy of Souls Part 2, because I love their guitar player. I think it's Tony Hernando. He is the one who's on the Ray Alder solo album. Am I wrong?
Could be.
I think he a great songwriter, and man, he writes some killer riffs. So I mean, they sound awesome, and there's some great songs. So I'm still a fan. If their their new album comes out, I'm definitely going to give it a listen.
Mm-hmm.
But if they had a little bit different singer, I think I'd be a much bigger fan.
I never found his. I always felt like he was sort of doing that style as more of a kind of an affectation and not like his actual voice. You know?
That's always felt like it was more of a mimic.
Yeah, and did you hear that last record he put out, the covers album? I don't know if it's called.
I checked out a couple songs.
I don't think he hit any of those songs out of the park. I listened to the originals all day. I mean, there's covers, you know, like nothing will beat the original Dio songs, but
of course,
I love that Jorn album Dio. It's just killer.
Yep,
I mean,
awesome.
He just adds his own thing to it, and it's just great.
Yep.
But,
It's different. It's like different enough to where,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just such a good tribute. But yeah, I'm totally with you. And same thing with Ferryman and like all the different things he's done. I'm just
It's true.
can't really get into it.
Yep.
Next up for me is going to be Porcupine Tree, because this is a band I really want to love. You know, I'm a big fan of Riverside. They've obviously taken a lot of influence from Porcupine Tree, and they are an insanely accomplished band of musicians. Steven Wilson is just his skill is just incomparable. It's like nothing else.
Yeah.
He is probably, you know, being objective, a fine singer. It's fine.
Mhm.
There's nothing that I would never say he's a bad singer. I just never have liked his voice. I just think it's, you know, when you hear him sing just kind of in that kind of lower, more, you know, softer or more ballady register, there's
Yeah.
guys I think just do it so much better. A great example is Michael Okerfeldt from Opeth. I mean, and then those guys obviously have had a very close working relationship for many, many years, and Steven has produced a handful of Opeth records, and there's just something about, there's just not a lot of character to his voice. There's just something about it. Like I just
I
like,
got you. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just not interested. So unfortunately, that's just deterred me from wanting to listen to Porcupine Tree and even his solo stuff. There's just not enough, you know. Another example is Jonas Redski. Like the way he's just got so much, it's just unique character to his voice, you know.
Yep. Yep.
It doesn't even have to be a complicated melody or anything super interesting. It's just like you just like the sound of his voice.
Yep.
For me, not so for Steven Wilson, unfortunately, no matter how good the music is. And the music is great.
Okay. I know that's what frustrates me too. When you love the music and you're like, man, if the singer was just a little better, I would love this band. And there's so many. I mean, there's so many like that.
Yeah.
They're so close to being one of my favorite bands.
I think Steven is almost a little bit of a reluctant singer too. It's almost like, and I think even if he was asked, like he doesn't even necessarily identify himself as a great guitar player or anything. He's more of a creator.
Okay.
He's brilliant in what he can do and put together, and he's an amazing producer. He's got an ear like nobody else. I mean, he's been given the keys to the progressive kingdom. I mean, he's put out, his own remasters of some iconic records, some of the most, iconic prog albums of all time. You know, who's giving anybody the masters to In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson?
Yeah.
Steven Wilson is getting those masters to be able to, remaster like entirely. So, I mean, nothing to take away from the man's brilliance, just not my cup of tea vocally.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard to put your finger on it sometimes because there's so many people who are talented singers, but it doesn't mean they should be a lead singer in a band. It's like there's something, right? There's millions of people who can sing, but it doesn't mean they should be fronting a rock band or a metal band. You know, it's a certain sound. It has to fit the music. Yeah, and it just has to kind of just resonate with you. Sometimes, obviously, we differ on certain singers, and I just can't understand why you don't like them, and probably the same for you. But you can't really put your finger on it. The last one I'm gonna say, and obviously we just covered this band, and almost feel bad saying it, but I'm gonna go with Haken.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I said in our review, I'm a fan of this band, but they're a band that I usually don't give their new records more than 4 or 5 spins. In this case, I usually listen digitally, so I'm not spinning anything. But I mean, they're a band where I wouldn't, like, if you were to ask me, if they were to come to me, should we change the singer? I would probably say no, because he's so key to their sound that I think you couldn't find a guy who sounds anything like him. And it would so radically change what they sound like that I wouldn't say go with a different singer, but I just wish I liked him more.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I like more of his pop vocal style. I guess he could do the extreme vocals too. I haven't really heard it.
Yep.
I haven't heard their early stuff, but at times he always does like this really robotic sound, like usually in the middle of the songs that just have me kind of tune out to where my mind wanders in the middle of a Haken song, which doesn't happen with most bands I really like. And I think it's mainly because of his voice. Yeah, I just don't clearly talented. He could do like some Freddie Mercury stuff. He's obviously super gifted. I just don't like the sound of his voice. I
Mhm.
guess that's what I would say. But yeah, that's my last. That's my fifth one.
Cool. Um, I'm gonna go for my last one. I'm gonna say Vanden Plas, and that would be
Oh, there we go. It's a good one. Yeah.
I think it's pronounced Andy Kuntz, I want to say. But
Okay.
yeah, interesting band. I mean, they've got a lot of really great material.
It's
The
like
Christ,
another progressive metal band on Frontiers. That's like
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But they've been around a very long time. The Christ O record I do own. I really enjoy that. Um, it's got definitely some really infectious melodies that are, I kind of go back to periodically.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting, I think they're one of those bands similar to we were talking about Nevermore a few weeks ago. The same lineup, I think, for every single record, which
Oh
is
wow.
just like amazing.
Yep. That's
Uh,
unique.
but yeah, he's just man, I don't know what it is. He's lacking something for me, and I don't know if it's like power or maybe I don't know, but it definitely keeps me from really wanting to dive into this band. There's just something
I
that's
think it's just the sound. 'Cause I
yeah,
think he has plenty of power. I feel like his voice doesn't fit the genre too. I don't know. It's just like
Hmm.
not quite what we're used to from. I guess they're classified progressive metal.
yeah. It's like
Um,
it's progressive metal. Definitely has some power.
like it's not clean enough. His voice not clean enough. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah, just to me, it just doesn't. I just don't love it. But he's yeah, definitely a great singer. I mean, I've watched live footage, and the guy kills it live. You know, he
Yeah.
sounds like the recording, and they obviously have their fan base and all that stuff, and they've been doing this forever. Uh, yeah, but just that another one where I'm just kind of like, okay.
Yep.
I almost feel like I want him to do something else. You know, like
Yeah, I hear you.
there's there's something to be said for a singer that can really just can add a lot of variety to what they can deliver. I don't know, just for me, I don't think anything that he does is really has made an impression on me. But to each their own, and
Yep.
they are certainly a great band, but not for me at this time.
Yep. I hear you.
So I'm gonna throw out a couple more honorable mentions because I don't know that we're gonna do this segment again unless you have
Okay.
more. But I think the other ones you already mentioned, so we're good there. Just
I know one you always mention, a band
yeah,
I like, and I think the singer is just past that like threshold. He's just good enough for me.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to go with Darkwater with
Yep.
Henrik Roth.
Yep.
Just to me, it's just there's just to me just nothing really special about it. And
I describe him as a poor man's Tommy Karabik.
yeah,
To where he sounds like him enough,
yeah,
and he's just good enough for. And I think music's killer. I really love the band, and Henrik's a cool guy. I mean, I've been able to like
seems like
kind
it.
of chat with him on Facebook, and he seems really nice, and
Yeah, he seems
maybe that helps. But
awesome. He really
yeah.
does. It's just not for me. And then I'm gonna throw out Pyramaze as well.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah.
Because there's that one record called Immortal with Matt
Yep.
Barlow,
Mhm.
and it is fantastic. I'm gonna add that to our Out of the Ashes because I
Okay.
just thought of it. But absolutely love that record. Their singer before that, Lance King, and then also their current singer. I can't pronounce this guy's name. I'm gonna say it's Turye.
I feel like they've had several singers over the past few years, but maybe
No,
I'm
just
wrong.
him on the
Just him.
record.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Okay.
had Urban Breed for a little bit. I don't think they released anything with him. He's a cool singer. Urban Breed is great. But this guy, man, it's just that they've also, when they finished Immortal, they also lost their guitar player
That's right. Yeah.
who wrote, like all those songs. So that didn't help things. I think
No,
they're
I don't
just
think
they're
it would.
just they're just very there's just nothing special about that stands out really about Pyramaze these days. But
Yeah.
certainly the singer doesn't help for me. And the last one, I saved the best for last as far as most controversy. I'm going to say Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden.
That's one for me too.
Yeah, I'll throw Blaze Bayley in there as well from those 90s records. I think that fine singer. I mean,
Yep.
but I just
Obviously, he has a ton of character. You can point out his voice in a heartbeat.
100%, yes.
Super unique, but there's just something about it that I don't love.
Yeah, and we talked about how when it's the right song,
Yeah, like the Trooper, it works.
Or like we talked about with the kind of songs we love segment. I mean, Help My Name for me. Just there's a handful of songs I really do like his voice, but I can't take a whole record of it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
But the one I won't mention, because I'm listing off, like, in some cases, all the singers. I'm not going to mention Paul Di'Anno, because those first two Iron Maiden records are actually the ones I still listen to.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because and it's a lot of people won't say that, which is fine, but especially on Killers, when you get to when you kind of go through that record a few times, because the production was better and the songwriting was getting better. I would love to hear what Number of the Beast would have sounded like with him. That guy was I don't know why, like, he kind of gets dismissed as like maybe being more of like a punk singer or something like that.
Yeah, I never understood that. Yeah,
it was Razorfist who changed my mind on that. He had his Metal Mythos where he talked about Iron Maiden, and he covered that as well, about how he took some live footage and pulled Paul in there, and it's like Paul's a guy who would have gotten better. And he certainly had his own thing and a very unique character to his voice, and he would no doubt would have gotten better. And it's too bad we couldn't have heard maybe more records with him and then maybe introduce Bruce later. But I think would have been.
I think part of the problem is Bruce, came up in the basic, I guess, era of some of the greatest metal singers ever.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just because we so prefer a Dio or a Rob Halford or those guys, that it's like, or Jeff Tate. They can't help but compare him to those guys, and he just falls way short.
Yeah. Well, and some do make the comparison. They think he's great. So that's I mean, obviously a lot of people do, and it's like maybe second to Metallica, some of the best metal bands of all time.
Yep. He's on probably most people's Mount Rushmore when it comes to
metal. Oh, probably. Yeah, probably. But just not mine. And that's one of the things I just kind of, after a while, I'm just like, I'm kind of good. I don't need to hear more.
Yeah. I'm with you.
But
so a lot we agreed on in this segment. So
right, a lot we agreed on, and I'm sure if we went through like our entire collection, we'd find even more. But I think I think this was fun. So those are our choices of if it wasn't for the singer, bands we'd probably enjoy a heck of a lot more. So all right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning into this video, and stick with us. We got a lot more content coming your way. Some reviews next week.
Yeah, great new album reviews coming next week.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.